Welcome back. This is part 4. I was out of town for a little while, but I did go ahead and align this. I had a little bit of a problem with it at first. I don't know what to do. Oh, there it is. So this rubber piece was on there, and I actually had forgotten to put it in there, and then I couldn't find it. This rubber piece holds the tuning condenser up about an eighth of an inch, a little over an eighth of an inch, maybe 2/8, a little over an eighth of an inch. What was happening was when I'd go to align this on the shortwave band, I'd stick it to 18 megahertz, and it would suddenly become super microphonic. I could hear my hand touching this. It was really freaky, but after a few minutes I figured out this piece was missing. I ended up using some foam tape. I don't know if you could see that. You could just see it sticking out there. I used some foam on the bottom of this. I had to remove the whole tuning condenser. In doing so, I accidentally broke a wire off of the RF transformer for the shortwave, but I managed to get that out of there and soldered on a new wire, put it all back together, and it's okay. I did have to make a slight compromise due to the fact that this dial isn't exactly the right dial for this radio. Although the broadcast band is the same, I guess, spread or width, the shortwave band is off slightly. Consequently, I had to make a choice either. Also 5C, which is in the back here, which is not supposed to affect the broadcast band, at least not according to the alignment instructions. It did. So the compromise I had to make was either the broadcast band was going to be off by a couple of hundred kilohertz, or the shortwave band was going to be off a few megahertz. Probably don't have to tell you where I made the compromise. So it's been a couple weeks since I did a video, so I can't remember exactly where I left off, except for that I was going to align it. So the rest of the time I've been spending fussing over the cabinet, getting it all stripped and everything. So I'll show you that in just a minute. In moving all of this stuff around and testing it, the wires are cracking here. So I made the decision today I'm going to have to go ahead and replace them. I'm going to have to splice in new wires though, because these sockets here, I had one of these. The male side of the socket is easy because it's like a regular tube socket. Here, as you can see, this one of the wires for the lamp wire was replaced. So these are easy because you can solder in the pins. Now with these, on the female side of the socket, I'm not going to take this out because I know pretty much what it looks like in here. And the wires come into these tiny little tabs, and they're just kind of tack soldered on there. I had a really difficult time with the speaker on the 41315 when I rewired it, to the point where I actually thought about just buying a socket, a 4-pin tube socket and a 4-pin tube base, and replacing it with that. Although I think somewhere along the line I found a place, not these ones, but the kind you can use for the speakers, like in the 41315X. Be that as it may, I'm going to go ahead and splice them in. I don't like to splice in, but I don't want to ruin this one and then have to deal with it. So as much as I don't like to, I'll go ahead and splice it in. But as I said, these have just cracked up, and well, let's see, is it the red one? Well, Yeah, and the red, the one that's cracked the most here with actually exposed wiring is this red one, and this does carry B plus voltage from one of these coils to the coil here. So anyhow, I'm going to have to go ahead and do that. So I'll go ahead and do that. I went ahead and I got some tubes to replace the 6A8. You can see here. I did go with the tubular, but what I did not realize, and they were sitting here just a minute ago. Oh, there they are. The problem here is, the reason why I didn't want to order the globe tubes was the globe tubes are pretty expensive. Now, for the 6U7G, it seems to be a lot more common, so that one was only a couple of dollars. That was not a problem. The 6A8 was only a couple of dollars, but because it doesn't use a shield, I didn't have much of a problem. This is the old one. So the new one's in there, but the problem that I have is that the bases are crimped like a metal tube on these, and they won't fit through the base of the tube shield. So I contacted Alton, the guy I usually go first for tubes. He's in Louisiana at antiqueradiotubes.com, I think, and talked to him, and he did end up finding a 6K5, which wasn't a big deal. He only charged me $8 for it. The 6J5G ST tube was $18. So, although his price was better than anybody else that I looked. I didn't check with Gene Kidd, but I would have gone to him next if Alton didn't have it. So, that's the problem with these, is they've got the crimped base. So the bases of the glass tubes are exactly the same, 1 5/16. I think 1 15/16. 5/16, I think. Versus 1.165 for the ST tubes. So they won't fit through the tube base, and I didn't want to chop them off. I know that, well, I contemplated chopping off the tube to taking this off. I really did, but I thought, no. So, which is really sad, because when I tested these two tubes, they were really strong. I got these actually from ESRB. I've now bought about a dozen tubes from them. Everything they send me is new old stock, and everything that they've sent me tests well above 100%. So, and it's also nice now. I mean, I used the I-177B to test them, and then I did pull out the 600. Even though the 600, I can't really use it in the around the 6,000 range, which I think is what, 88-ish. Even though there's that messed up spot there, I can use the 3,000 and the 15,000 scale, and it works fine. And they were exactly the same. Actually, they measured the same on both testers. So anyhow, nice strong tubes. The 6A8 was also a very strong tube. The other one was kind of weak, but not that weak. I didn't really notice much of a difference. I want to say it was more sensitive, but that's really hard to judge, considering that I get different reception at different times of day, at different weather conditions and whatnot regardless, so it's hard to say. Either way, now I have a spare. So I left that one in, and I'll get these two tubes in at some point. So I'm going to go ahead and move this out of the way, because aside from this wiring, which I will go ahead and do, I'm in the middle of working on the cabinet, but I wanted to show you that, so I'll be right back. Alright, well, here's where I am with the cabinet. I did the filling. Unfortunately, I guess I thought it was pretty flat, but since I'm looking at I can see the grain here, and I'm going to have to end up using the lacquer to keep filling it in. But this is how it's coming out. So It's a little darker than I like, but I always complain about that, don't I? It doesn't look so bad now because I've got a couple hundred watts of light shining at it, but interesting how the sides are coming out a little bit. Oh, is it darker or lighter? I don't know, it looks a lot different in the camera than it does to me. It looks darker on the sides in the camera, but it looks almost even in person. I wish I hadn't, but because of this patch somebody put in here, I tried to kind of duplicate it on this side. I sort of wish I hadn't done it, because it looks like I did it. But live and learn. So I'm going to go ahead and I did this yesterday, so I'm going to give it another day or so to cure a bit, and then I'm going to go ahead and sand it down some, and I'm going to put a couple more coats on and see how that does. It's filling in pretty nicely. Here's what the top looks like. You guys can see that without. This cabinet's so huge. And the sides. And today I shot some extra dark walnut from the rear to get into the nooks and crannies there, but I'm gonna have to take a little bit of sandpaper to here because it's still a little bit rough. I didn't do a really great job this time. You know, when you're doing this and all the filler kind of cakes in and falls down inside here. So I didn't quite do as good of a job as I thought, so I'm gonna have to hit this again with some sandpaper, and I may just end up using the filler pen, the extra dark walnut, even though it seems pretty typical for you to shoot from behind to coat these, you know, and it comes out the front and doesn't touch the front. I just kind of like using the pen better because you know how thin the toner is, so it ran a little bit on the inside, not to mention that it doesn't look all that pretty. So anyway, I may just go back to my old other way of doing it. I tried to do it this way because that was the way that the instructions in the videos that I have said to do it, but I don't know, I guess I could hit the inside of it again with extra dark walnut or whatever just to cover it up, make it look even. Nobody's going to really know, but anyway, so that's where I am on this. So I'll go ahead and upload this video, and then like I said, I'm going to go ahead and sand some of this down, and I'll have to hit it again with some more clear, and yeah, so that's where I am. So thanks for watching, and I'll catch up with you guys in the next video.